Reddit reports. Like, subscribe and hit the bell. You go on a first date with someone, what habit or characteristic is a deal breaker? Constantly talking about their exes. I feel like there's a balance needed. For my and I, we were upfront about weird issues we brought with us from past relationships. Everyone has baggage. You gotta be able to talk about it so your new boo won't be confused when something unimportant, to them, stresses you out completely. I know there are things that would have really annoyed me, boo, because we talked about our past relationship issues. It was a lot easier to grow past it and be better with one another.
Oh man, this is one that I'm struggling with at the moment. We both bring a lot of baggage with us, who doesn't? But he's very much the stereotypical strong silent type, so communication is just non-existent and we both end up confused and frustrated.
Someone who makes me read their bad poetry. This has happened to me more than once.
Have you tried Vaughan poetry? It is out of this world.
Greater than O freddled grunt bugly, greater than thy micturations are to me, greater than as plurdled gabbled blotchets on a loaded bee, greater than group, I implore thee, my foonting turling drums, greater than and hooptiously drangle me with crinkly bindle wordles, greater than or I will rend thee in the gobberwarts, greater than with my blogle crunchin', see if I don't edit, formatting on mobile is hard.
I've heard it's the third worst in the galaxy. Edit, galaxy, not universe.
Fuck.
They talk over me and spend a conversation giving me unsolicited advice about how to live my life. Edit, I feel like I need to specify that I was thinking of one specific first date that did not become a second date when I answered this, lol. The guy didn't like that I had dyed my hair blonde at the bottom and spent a lot of the date telling me about the dangers of bleaching your hair and how I should learn to make better choices. I just wanted to have a good dinner, man.
Terrible haiku, but what did I expect?
Tilda only our first date, comma tilde. Tilde the asshole speaks over me, comma tilde. Tilde his advice is crap, tilde. Tilde actually this is rubbish, let me try again, tilde. Tilde be quiet woman, tilde. Tilde listen to my genius, tilde. Tilde for I am strong man, tilde. One last time, I'm smarter than you. Do what I say, stupid girl. I cry every night.
My current boss is like that. Like fuck Sally Anna, I'm sorry I didn't have a sheltered life growing up.
Spending the whole time on their phone.
Had a first date with a guy once. At some point I asked him to look up something on his phone. I forget exactly what the context was, and he told me he had intentionally left his phone in his car for our date. Color me impressed, we dated for nearly a year. I do this when I go to parties or social events. I'll leave my phone in the car intentionally so I can be present and engage with people. It's not like I'm glued to my phone, but I notice I will unconsciously look at my phone for a minute or check messages. It's a terrible habit. I'm sure there's a middle ground, but leaving my phone in the car seems to work just fine.
Modified version, they always seem to be on their phone but never reply to you.
I had that once. This girl I was seeing would always be texting on her phone but would like hours to reply to my messages. Move on to a person with better etiquette and gives you the attention you deserve.
Done and done, smile. This was quite a while ago. I wish all the best for her.
Also, their phone doesn't stop making noises even when they're not glued to it. Nobody needs to hear that ping every time you get a Facebook message or an Instagram like.
I was once set up to go on a blind date with this girl. We were given each other's email addresses and so I hit her up, we exchanged a few pleasantries, then set up a date/time to finally meet. The day of, I get an email from her in the morning with an attachment. I open up the attachment and there is a questionnaire with like 25 to 30 questions on it. She requested I kindly fill out the questionnaire before we meet. I quickly reviewed the questions before sending her a reply saying that it's probably best we don't meet. I don't know what characteristic she embodied, but I'd say that was a deal breaker. What kind of questions were they?
I don't recall the exact questions, as it was a long time ago, but I do remember some were as innocuous as dog or cat. But others required further explanation, like who is your favorite person in the world? What has he or she done to make you like them so much? It was insane. I've had job interviews that were less thorough.
It kind of sounds like the OkCupid questionnaires. I actually find them useful to read through, if only to weed out the ones who say, yes, I believe the Earth is bigger than the sun. Probably wouldn't email that to a prospective partner though.
I don't believe in the moon. I think it's the back of the sun.
Like a sun butt?
The sun is mooning you.
They only want to talk about themselves. I once had a 2-hour blind date. By the end, I knew everything about this girl. I knew all of her cats by name, and what their favorite movies were. She asked me literally nothing, and just kept jumping from topic to topic. At the end of the date, she wanted to trade numbers, and I couldn't help but ask what's my name? And she didn't know. So I just paid for my meal and left.
Humans getting hurt and dangly noodles to play with. Snakes on a Plane is the perfect movie for a cat.
She sounds perfect for me. I hate having people know things about me.
I know you what you named your peen.
I will hunt you down.
Not if I separate you from Nate first.
You're gonna cut his whole body off? I hate everything about this. It wasn't a date, but I once met up with a friend from college who was exactly like this. I figured after 8 years she grew up and matured a bit. She hadn't. I had my brother call me and fake a family emergency so I could get out early.
I hear situations like this a lot on Reddit, but I would argue that the person doing all the talking may see the silent person as a bad date for not having anything to say, forcing them to ramble for the entirety of the date. Not saying you were the bad date, just saying that there are two sides to every coin.
I've seen being rude to waitstaff a dozen times in here. Are that many people rude to waiters? No. Source, waiter. I'd say roughly 1-200 people are actually rude, especially without reason. Now I do also believe people are generally more rude to a waitress, but that is my experience.
I was going to say, where do you work where the ratio is that low? But waiter versus waitress makes sense, although I hadn't really considered it. Former female server, and I'd say my numbers were more like 1 in 20. That number might be skewed by negative experience taking up memory, though. And most people aren't screaming for the manager rude, but just treating you like you're not a human in general, followed by a poor tip is the average bad customer.
And also I forgot to add, male versus female matters tremendously in a restaurant, and it breaks my heart. I watch women get torn up by older men who think they can speak that way. A lot of times me, a 6 feet 1 inch 200-pound man, not huge or menacing, but bigger than the kind of people who do this, will walk up and the tone gets changed because they don't think they can bully my like the little 5 feet 5 inches girl, who I'd be terrified of if it came down to it. You learn a lot in industries that deal with the public.
You really do learn a lot. I spent a cumulative 10 years or so in various food/bar service positions, mostly pho. I used to think people treated me poorly because I was young when I started, but after a while I realized that being a woman was a huge part of it. Older people in general always treated me worse, but yeah, men especially. The good news is treating servers better seems across the board better with each generation, even teenagers. You'd get some snot-nosed punk type every once in a while, or kids who clearly didn't understand tipping, but there's always the chance they'll age out of ignorance. Older folks, not so much. I'm assuming the kind of establishment matters, but does it?
Oh, for sure. I've done diner, bar and grill, chains, fast casual. Buffalo Wild Wings serving/bartending was probably the second most lucrative service job I ever had, but at highest arsehole ratio.
Teens were usually decently polite, but I was a server as a senior in high school, and whenever I got a group of people my age put in my section I just mentally accepted that it was a dead table for tips. I don't hold it against them cause teens just as a whole don't really have the money to throw out good tips.
Too much discussion about money.
Not a date, but first time meeting my current GF's friends. The one's first question to me was, "So what do you do for a living? How much do you make?" I've never forgotten it and haven't cared for her since that moment.
Hygiene, in general. Edit, yes, you guys. Lack of hygiene.
Good, bad, doesn't matter. If you GOT's hygiene, I ain't doing IT.
Hygiene is hygiene. Good, bad, middling. It's all the same. And if I'm to choose between one hygiene or another, I'd rather not choose at all.
Toss a deodorant to your witcher.
BO and rancid breath top the list though.
People, seriously, invest in a tongue scraper, it will change your life.
And floss.
I will sound like a sale rep, but buy a Philips Sonicare toothbrush. For the head, get Diamond Clean. For years I used regular toothbrushes, then I used ones with batteries. My dentist suggested Oral-B 5000, which I bought and used for a couple of years. I always thought that tartar/plaque was inevitable whatever I do. I was getting them scrapped by dentist every 6 months. Additionally, almost every time I brushed my gums were bleeding. I switched about 5 years ago. Not even once I had a plaque, visible at least, issue since. After the first few months my gums stopped bleeding too. And for the past 4.5 years or so, it had been bled. Maybe a few times, maybe. It is easily one of the best purchases I've ever had. You won't regret it. As a side note, when I had to use Oral-B a year later for a trip, it caused my gums to bleed, didn't felt clean at all, and boy it was loud. So the thing is that I keep fantastic care of myself, but I have a medical issue that kinda makes oily flakes like dandruff. It's a lot better now, but I still occasionally have a bit flare up despite me washing properly.
Totally acceptable. It's the people who don't care that are a turn off. This is a first date scenario. How are you supposed to know if the dandruff is a medical condition or not? Are you pointing out their dandruff on a first date?
If all they talk about is how bad all their exes are. If all your exes are psycho, the chances are the problem is you.
If you meet an asshole in the morning, you met an asshole. If you meet assholes all day, you're the asshole. Raylan Givens.
In affairs of the heart, always think with your dick. Vince Masuka.
Surprise motherfucker. / James Dokes.
If you smell shit everywhere you go, check your shoe. Some guy.
He has the best quotes.
When she puts her smoke out in her baked potato.
Lamau, I'm assuming there's a story behind this?
He was still hungry and wanted to finish the baked potato. She done gone and ruined it.
I feel a country song being written at this very moment. Edit, the internet is a wondrous place.
Isn't this in a cartoon or something? Lying about their appearance. Very specific app example, guess which one? But you see their pictures, they look nice and then they are different in person. What's the point?
As a rule, if they have dog ears, a butterfly halo, or are puking a rainbow, what you see isn't what you'll get.
There are so many Tinder profiles where girls will have 3 pictures, all selfies, all with dog ears, big cartoony eyes and heavy Snapchat filters. It makes it way too obvious that you're trying to hide something. And even if you're not, then that's weird lol.
Makes me so glad I found the love of my life before Snapchat filters.
Hey, it's not that hard. Filters equals hiding. Same thing you did, you just eliminated them based on looks or other tricks they used.
Yeah, single heavily Snapchat modified photo decreased my likelihood of wanting to match with a girl. All photos modified with Snapchat filters was a more or less no questions asked to know. I think it said more about lack of maturity than appearance, but that was a factor too.
I went on a date with a Tinder girl and all her photos had a Snapchat filter. She looked good so I didn't think much of it. When we met she looked a lot less attractive. I didn't let it bother me too much. Then she puked in my hotel room and left lol.
Before I met my GF, my dating profiles were always included the following. 1. An attractive picture of me. 2. A picture of myself standing next to other people, for height purposes. 3. A picture where you can absolutely see my face how it is with no sunglasses or some weird facial expression, or filter. Why does anyone filter on their dating profile? 4. A joke not very good looking photo of myself.
Yes. I'm a girl and I follow these rules, usually. I try to post flattering and unflattering photos so the guy knows what he's getting into, lol. If I had to rate myself it'd be a 6, but get to know me and my personality is an 8 or 9, which bumps my looks up to a 7.5. I'm just making shit up. But for real, no fun filters, Facetune, etc. I feel that's a recipe for disaster. Self-confidence is already a mixed bag, let's not make it worse. Went out with a guy from a dating app this past weekend whose profile said he was 6 foot and he was barely 5 feet 6 inches /7. I personally am short so I'm very fine with shorter men, but it's the blatant lying that made me sure I never wanted to go out with him again.
I do know that when I was on dating sites, there were a lot of profiles with shit like don't message me if you're under 6 feet, seemingly always from girls who were maybe 5 feet 1 inch on a good day. But I just skipped them, since 5 feet 9 inches cannot pass for 6 feet, and what's the point in lying?
Heh? My girlfriend's profile claimed she was 5 feet 1 inch. I'm 6 foot 2, and don't mind short women. Anyhow, a year in or so, I took her along on a work trip to Florida. As we're walking along the beach in bare feet, I look down at her and go, there's no way you're 5 foot, and she finally admits to being closer to 4 feet 10 inches. After that admission, she stopped eating heels around me too. Edit, wearing, not eating. But I'm leaving the autocorrect because it's funny.